Hello everyone, and I hope you're having a great day at the home show today. We are here to talk about how to live off-grid, and just for the sake of clarity, today we're actually talking about what we consider genuine off-grid living. So if you're currently connected to the grid and you want to disconnect from the grid and you perhaps live in suburbia, that's a different scenario. Today we're talking about whether you've bought a beach or a bush property and it's not connected to the grid and you'd like to be able to set it up so that you could live sustainably on your property using an off-grid system. So Ben's going to do most of the talking today, and he has some really exciting topics to go through, so I hope you're all geared up and hanging on to your seats there. Now Ben, my business partner, he has spent over 15 years in this space. He did most of his apprenticeship living on either a bush or a beach property, mostly Fraser Island, Moreton Island, so he has a wealth of knowledge in this area, and it is very difficult to find an electrician with Ben's expertise in this area. So I'm going to hand it over to him, and it's all yours, Ben.
Thank you, Lisa. So Lisa's right. When I was fresh out of high school, I went and worked for a company in Redcliffe, and I primarily lived on Fraser Island, Moreton Island, down in Nimbin, down in Byron Bay, Sunshine Coast hinterland, Gold Coast hinterland. These kind of beautiful escape areas that you might have visited or you might have property on. That's where I was working all the time. I was 18, my friends were out going night clubbing, and I was working. So yeah, that is right. Okay, so Lisa's right, I started back in 2005. So straight out of high school, graduated high school, went into a trade, and the majority of my experience was in off the grid. So I built solar arrays, battery banks, I worked on generators, and I basically got people who had no power or had a very DIY or very antiquated setup and got them into a more modernized setup to get renewable power into their home. So that's my background. What does it mean to live off grid, right? So you guys might be thinking, what does it actually mean? It means that you are cutting the cord of the services. So you're independently providing your power to your home. Typically you're independently providing water to your home, and also independently providing septic. And then you might also grow your own vegetables and crops, and you may even run livestock and chooks and all that kind of stuff. So it's about going back to nomadic living, like being really one with the land and being really going back to basics as humans. So yeah, it's inspiring, to be honest. Yeah, so I've met lots of people from lots of different walks of life who've gone off-grid for lots of different reasons. So some people go off-grid because it's out of necessity. So they might get a quotation from Energex or Ergon or Essential Energy in New South Wales for over $100,000, for example, to run power a kilometre from the road to their home. Other people don't even have an intention to be on the grid from the first place. They want to just be completely independent from the get-go. Other people don't even like what the grid can offer because it's so unreliable. It actually cuts out all the time because they might be in a very highly forested area and you get trees falling on lines and the power falls over all the time, and it's actually less reliable than off-grid itself. So there's lots of different drivers to go off-grid, and it's interesting to have come from that background and learn a lot of those different drivers from customers themselves. You guys might be wondering as well, like what comes about when you go off-grid? What kind of improvement to your life do you get from going off-grid? For me, I see the freedom, the independence. You get to live out in the fresh air, you get to have the clean water from your roof normally, organic produce, and you're living sustainably. You're living with a low impact on the earth. You're actually living environmentally friendly as best as you possibly can, and you're not contributing to the climate change problem that you may or may not believe in. Okay, so what does an off-grid system actually look like? You might be wondering, what does it actually entail? What do you need to power a home off-grid? What do you actually need? How many solar panels? How many batteries? What size generator? Etc. etc. And what I normally say to people when they're asking me this question is, every home is different. It depends on the number of people in the home. Are you cooking electrically, or are you cooking with gas? Are you heating your water electrically, or are you heating your water with gas? And are you wanting creature comforts like air conditioning and stuff, or are you going to live with just ceiling fans and windows open and very basically basic? Because you can be off-grid with all the creature comforts, and you can be off-grid with none of the creature comforts. It's totally up to you, and it comes down to your budget, and also what your priorities are as well. So yeah, what a typical off-grid solar system looks like. Right here in the background, we have an existing system on Fraser Island. So right there, you can see some solar panels on a rooftop, and in the background from there is the Yurong General Store. You guys might have visited Fraser Island before. So that's one of our case studies, slash projects we've worked on, and that's a holiday rental that people use all year round. The home uses gas cooking, they use ceiling fans for cooling, and they because of the location so close to the water, you typically don't really need the air conditioning in that home because they've got the sea breezes literally blasting in through the windows. So for that situation, they've been fine having a more basic setup, but the system is very robust. It allows them to have they've actually never run their generator once in reality. So that's fantastic. And you can achieve that as well if you want to be completely green, mean, and saving the planet in that sense. All right, so this is another project here. This one here is actually to the west of Ipswich. So this one's between Ipswich and Toowoomba, and it's on about a 50-acre property, all built onto a shed. And you might see a massive big horse trailer there, right? So this customer actually had, they ran ponies for their daughters. So they are fortunate enough to have enough money to keep horses and also have their own arena for the horses where they do a bit of track training and a bit of show pony racing. And this is all running off the grid. So all the lighting, everything in the shed in terms of the workshop and all the, when people come to visit, they bring their caravans in and they power it from the shed. And then that's the system internally. So that's all German inverter equipment. Back to what we're looking like, right? So the red boxes there are the chargers or the solar inverters. The yellow boxes on the left-hand side are the battery inverters. And then below the yellow units there, that's the actual lithium battery banks. So right there you have, it's about 25 kilowatts of solar on the roof, connected up to 15 kilowatts of solar inverters, 16 kilowatts of battery inverters, and then that connects to about 60 kilowatt hours of lithium storage. It's quite a large system. A system of this size is anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000. But as I said, it's running a homestead home, it's running a horse arena stadium, and it's also running this gentleman's workshop in their shed. So typically a house like that, which was connected to the grid, would be spending somewhere in the order of $5,000 to $8,000 per year in grid electricity. So you can quickly calculate there that in about 10 to 15 years, you do recover your entire capital outlay on the off-grid system. Not to mention, you have the advantage of you are off the grid. You don't have to talk to Ergon or Energex and pay them. This is another example here. This is a three-phase off-grid system. So some people think, all right, off-grid, that can't run three-phase welders and big heavy machinery, can it? Well, yes, it can. This is on a cattle station in Emerald. This is a real working system. This customer has a 25 kilowatt solar inverter, 3x8 kilowatt battery inverters, and 45 kilowatt hours of storage with a 20 kVA diesel genset with auto start functionality. That's the station. So out there you can see just after some beautiful rains up there, it's I think it's north of 1,000 hectares. So insane amounts of cattle. I think the farmer had about 5,000 head on that land, and he's running all of his irrigation and water pumping stations, his little homestead, and also a worker's cottage for when he's having maintenance done on the property. You know, people come and stay in his homestead. This is a more close to home system. So this one here is on an island between Brisbane and Bribie Island. It's a little island where a very lucky gentleman owns his own island. I'm not kidding when I say that. This guy owns his own island, guys. And that's how we transported the goods to the island. We actually tried to take everything to the island by boat. So it's a really interesting journey, this one. That's the system there. So as you can see, you've got solar panels, the battery inverter, the solar inverter, and the battery, because of cheeky people coming down the Pimmerstone Passage and actually pulling up their boats to this guy's jetty and having a squiz around on the island when he's not there, people are actually getting into his generator, siphoning out his fuel. There's all sorts of riffraff going on. So we've caged everything. We've caged the inverter equipment. The batteries are in their own box, and that's locked away. So it was all about security with this one, and later on we installed CCTV, alarm system. It was all about securing the property because this guy had a beautiful home and riffraff were getting in there and just running havoc. So by actually powering the system off the grid and getting it all up to speed, it's actually allowed him to have peace of mind. He can dial in remotely, check around the home. He's watching everyone moving around. He can watch animals, birds and people moving around his home and make sure that it's 100% locked up and safe. So there you go. This one's out at Stanthorpe, and this customer has their own, I don't know whether they're llamas or someone from the audience might be able to help me there. Is anyone an animal expert in the audience? Anyone? No? I think they're llamas. Alpacas maybe. Okay, sorry about that. Alpacas, llamas, whatever. Okay, so this customer had alpacas/llamas, and as you know, guys, who's ever been to Stanthorpe? Raise your hands. Have you ever been to Stanthorpe? Bloody cold, right? -7, I think, at the coldest time of the year when you get a bit of frost and snow happening in that. Coldest place in Queensland I know of, anyway. So yeah, nice little tidy system, tucked it away into the shed, and panels on the roof, and a little Bunnings generator hooked on the back because it was just a budgetary situation. So the customer only had certain funding against the project, so we worked with a $800 Bunnings generator for this one. But it still worked with the system, and it's still giving him the reliable power that he needs. Do you guys want to learn about how off-grid actually works? Do you guys want to learn about that? Yeah, we're there? Okay, cool. All right, so what actually happens in reality, the solar power is generated from the panels. You probably all know how that kind of works. Does everyone have an idea about that? Yeah, okay. And what happens is the solar power that's generated from the panels goes into an inverter, which is the red units we were showing you there on the screen through that whole slide. And then that produces 240 volts AC, or 400 volts AC if it's 3-phase, right? Then you have typically a 48 volt lead acid or lithium battery connected to the yellow inverters that were on the screen, and they also generate 240 or 400 volts AC. Then collectively in the switchboard, the power is transferring between those two boxes. So the charge is coming in from the red units and going out to the yellow units to charge the battery. At night, the power is coming out of the battery through the yellow unit back into the switchboard. It's all just transferring through the switchboard. It's all called AC coupled. Does that make sense, guys? Awesome. If you have rainy weather or cloudy weather, which is not allowing you enough charge into the batteries, the way to negate that is by having surplus solar beyond belief, or having a diesel generator with auto start functionality. That way, when you get rainy weather or cloudy weather, the yellow unit, the guy on the right there, he calls on the generator automatically. He says run, charges the battery from low to full again, says, okay, time to turn off generator, generator turns off, and you're back to full charge and you're running off your power. And you guys might also wonder, obviously you've probably heard lithium's the rage, lead's kind of dead technology. You might have heard about that in the marketplace. I'm a big believer of that too, because I used to work on the lead acid batteries and I used to lug them up the hills by hand with little carts. I can tell you right now, they're heavy, they're inefficient, the really old ones are wet, so they spill sulfuric acid all over you, literally burns your clothes off. I had holes through my clothes when I was an apprentice, and I used to just have to buy new clothes. It's just what it was. It's just how things were. Now we have compact lithium. It just slides into these little cabinets and takes up bugger all room, delivers 5 times the energy density of lead acid. And I'm not dealing with explosive chemicals and dirty acidic chemicals burning my clothes off, literally. So there you go. But if you want to play with the lead acid stuff, you still can. It's still available. I personally wouldn't bother, if I'm telling you honestly. The other thing that goes into that is lead acid batteries typically only come with a 3 to 5 year warranty. Lithium is normally 10 years warranty. So you're getting a longer guarantee on the product as well, which gives a lot better peace of mind as to how long the products will last and how long you're expected before you need to possibly replace those batteries down the track. What I've found though is typically you will get about 15 years in real world terms out of a lithium set of batteries, as long as they're sized correctly. And I was going to say used properly, but to be honest, lithium you can abuse. It doesn't really matter if you drain it to pretty much flat every day. Lithium batteries are designed to be comfortably run from 100% state of charge down to like 10 and 20% state of charge every single day, and it doesn't affect their design life anywhere near as much as if you did that to lead, it'd be dead in about 12 months. So that gives you an idea of the kind of difference in the quality of technology. You might also ask, do I need a generator? I think I covered that a bit, but what it means is, no, you don't have to have a generator, but if you don't want a generator, you need a lot more solar, because you need enough solar so that if it's a cloudy or a rainy day, it's still got enough charge to fill your batteries up. So you're effectively wasting capacity, because you're only building it to suit the worst conditions rather than the moderate or the best conditions, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But I would still typically advise people to double the typical size of solar so that it works on a moderately cloudy day, but not so much a rainy day, because it allows you to just have a bit more peace of mind, and you have less generator runtime and less maintenance in the generator and less fuel costs, obviously, because one thing about off-grid, you still have an input cost of fuel, and some customers, their input cost of fuel is literally zero. Others is a lot higher because they have only been able to afford a certain size system, and the generator does a lot more of the work. So it just depends on your budget, your space, and what your actual priorities are, whether you're environmentally focused, economically focused, capital outlay focused, or operating costs focused. It depends on you as a client as to what you would do in that sense. Yeah.
Okay, Ben, how do you make sure that you're working with a reputable company to install your off-grid system? What questions do I need to ask?
Okay, so thanks, Lisa. I know that last one was a bit of a burler, but anyway, so yes. The questions that I'd be asking if I was a consumer of off-grid products would be, how long have you been in the game? How many projects have you built? Show me some examples of your projects. Show me the reviews. Give me an address of a job you've done. Let me have a look at the job you've done. Now talk to your customer. Can we log into the system and show me how it looks online, etc., etc. So it's all about proving your competence in this space. And if you don't prove your competence, don't bother with that person. You have to choose someone who knows what they're doing, who's got their years behind them, and they've delivered the outcomes over and over again to their customers. There you go.
When I finally do get my bush property one day, Ben, am I going to be able to charge my electric vehicle on an off-grid system?
Funny you should ask that, Lisa. Yes, you can. So guys, this particular brand of inverter product allows you to also off-grid charge your electric vehicle in the future. There's product available, and it will be in the market, ready for installation in the start of next year. So talk to your specialist about how you would actually get that happening for your place.
Was I too cheeky?